and welcome to Gym and Kitchen. I'm your host, Shona. Gym and Kitchen's focus is on creating a healthy lifestyle, and I'm passionate about educating and coaching real people with busy lives on all things health and wellness related, including the habits and beliefs that govern our food and fitness choices. And that's what this show is all about. You can find Gym and Kitchen on the web, Facebook, and Instagram at gymandkitchen.biz. Gym and Kitchen is produced bi-weekly and airs every second Thursday on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Let's get into this episode's topic, which is deadlifts. Specifically, how to do a basic deadlift. Now, if you missed the parody, I'm gonna roll that after the intro. But what I want to start off with saying is that there are a number of different ways to deadlift depending on your goals, whether you really are a bodybuilder or a power lifter. There are going to be things that you want to consider if you've had a back injury. Please only deadlift on your doctor's advice if you have sustained some sort of back injury or if you have any kind of slipped herniated discs or you've had back surgery for those. I put together this video from a very basic level. So this is aimed at somebody who has never deadlifted before and just needs to know the basics to get started to do it safely and effectively. If you want to get into the fancy stuff, if you are interested in powerlifting, bodybuilding, or specific competitive weightlifting, there are lots of other really great resources that you can reference, but I'm actually not it. I just want to teach regular people how to be strong and how to do it comfortably, safely, and effectively. So let's talk about how to deadlift. Okay, so let's talk about setting up a deadlift. So a deadlift is a compound exercise that utilizes your lower back, your thighs, your quads, your butt, or your glutes. Okay, it is a really, really excellent exercise for lower body strength. And I am that person that makes all of my clients at least learn how to do a hip hinge. Now there's lots of ways to progress into that if we're working one-on-one. But in this video, I just want to show you the basics of how to set yourself up to do this safely, because I see a lot of people that do a deadlift like this. They know that they have to bend at the waist, but then they do this and they round their back. And so what that's going to do is that's going to compromise your spine because you don't have the support of the muscles around it that you need. So you've got to learn how to flex all of the muscles in your lower abdomen, and you've got to learn how to keep your shoulders slightly packed so that you maintain what we call neutral spine throughout that movement. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a shoulder pack. It's a really, really simple movement. It doesn't have to be overthought, okay? So your shoulders, they move in a whole bunch of different directions. They go back, they go forward, they go up, and they go down. For a shoulder pack, we want them to go back and down. But it's not so pronounced that you're throwing your back into some weird position. You're not throwing the back like this and pushing them down, because that's really uncomfortable. This is just a light movement. We just want to pull them gently back and gently down. Just enough to provide some support in the scapula or the shoulder blades. So that's the first thing that I want you to do, is just pull your shoulder blades slightly back and push them down ever so slightly. It should feel a little bit tight, a little bit firm, but not uncomfortable by any stretch of the imagination. That's step number one. Step number two, we want to flex our transverse abdominis. This is a word that gets thrown around a lot. The transverse abdominis, or the transverse abs as they're sometimes referred to, is a band of muscle that wraps around back here and then attaches around about that part of your lower back. It is kind of like a corset for your lift. It is going to provide the support. And if we know how to flex that, then that's going to help protect our spine in the lift. So the way you flex it, there's a few different ways I can teach this. But the easiest one, I want you to put your hand on your tummy. It's going to be soft and wiggly. It's supposed to be, that's just fine. You're right over top of your belly button. If you have the mobility, you can put your hand on your back as well, because you'll also be able to feel it flex at the back. Right? You're going to do that, and you're just going to give a little cough, or a little huh, all right? Or even just a really sharp exhale. You should feel everything flex in there. We are creating a shield when we do that with the transverse abs. That's what we want. Okay, so I want you to try that one more time. Or, okay. Another way that some people like to do that is they like to place their hand on their tummy and then slowly use the muscles to draw the tummy away from the hand. You will also feel everything flex if you do that. You can pick whichever one makes the most sense for you to create that shield. Now, once we've got that flex in place, now you want to breathe behind it. So keep that flex and go. Try that one more time. Relax everything out, give a little flex, now breathe. That's called breathing behind the shield. And we need that because I still want you to maintain a good breathing pattern throughout the lift. There are techniques where you hold your breath throughout the lift. I personally don't teach those to people because those are advanced methods. We're not going to do them in this video. Okay, so we've got your shoulder pad, down and back. We're going to flex the transverse abs. Okay, now, Shona, what do we do now? Okay, just relax while you're listening. We are going to maintain that neutral spine, which is keeping the spine in a nice straight line. And the spine comes all the way up to the bottom of your occipital ridge, right there at the back of your head. So when you do this, I want to make sure that your chin stays in place. It's really common for people as they go down into a lift like this to start to do this. Well, now you're compromising your spine at the neck level. So I want to keep that nice and straight. I want you to take two hands and I want you to push right in that hip crease, right? So the place where you, if your leg bends, that's where I want you to place your hands. I want you to do that nice light shoulder pack. Give me a nice flex with the transverse abs. And I want you to push back and be soft on these, but let the butt go back behind you, okay? You're gonna keep this part of the back nice and straight. Now, something to keep in mind is that, ladies, you have a natural curve in your back. Biomechanically and anatomically, that's how you're built. That's okay, you don't need to try and force that out of place. Gents, you don't. Okay? Now, depending on your body structure and your body build, you may have a more pronounced curve or you may not, and that's fine. Work with what you have naturally and don't try and force anything into what feels like an unnatural or an uncomfortable position. This should feel like a fairly natural position to be in. Just work to hold it in that place. So this is what's called the hip hinge, where we're moving our butt back. So you want to imagine that there's something behind you and you're going to do a little bump to it. Okay? That is your hip hinge. The knees can be soft, okay? Knees can be soft and that's just fine. Slight shoulder back, flex transverse abs, but it goes back, let the knees be soft. Now you can bend at the knees to get yourself closer to the floor because we're going to reach for a weight down here in a moment. Now when you stand up, you're going to squeeze your butt like you're going to pinch something between your butt cheeks and stand up. And just stand up straight. You don't need to overpronounce it. You don't need to go back into any kind of curved position. It's truly just stand up straight and flex the butt. If you do this enough, I promise, even without weight, you will feel it in your butt muscles tomorrow, and that means that you did it right. Let's do that movement a couple of times without weight, and then I'm going to talk about adding weight. So, set yourself up. Your feet should be about hip width apart. Your hip width, not somebody else's, so you don't need to be super wide, doesn't need to be super in place, just a nice, comfortable hip width apart, okay? And pat the shoulders, flex the transverse abs, hip hinge. I want you to bend the knees and just reach for something down there. You don't have to touch the floor, okay? Should be nice and comfortable. Now, you're going to squeeze the butt and stand up. When you do that, you're going to exhale. Remember, I want you to keep breathing through this movement. One more time, okay? Slight back in the shoulders, flex the transverse abs, push the hips back, let the knees bend, and reach for something on the ground, but don't touch the ground. Okay, now exhale, squeeze the butt, and stand up. That's your deadlift, okay? Let's add some weight to it so you know how to hold things. Lots of different options on this. I'm going to show you on a kettlebell because I find it very easy. You could certainly swap out a dumbbell in the middle standing up. You could hold the dumbbells in front of you like a barbell, or you could hold them at your sides. Just make sure that if you're doing any of those, the important part is that when you go down into this neutral spine position, that you want your body to be more parallel with the floor and not fall into a squat position, which is going to be more like that. So again, I'm going to use a kettlebell for this because I find that it's a really good teaching tool. With a kettlebell, you want to stand with the horns, or the handle, right about where your ankle is, and that's where you're going to reach for it. You don't necessarily have to see it, don't worry, your hands will find it. If the bell is smaller than your reach, or you don't have the mobility to reach it when you come down into this position, that's just fine. You can prop it up on something. You can take a yoga block and place it on there, something like that to elevate it. Okay? The same goes if you're using dumbbells or a barbell of any kind. It's okay to make sure that the weight that you're using is elevated enough that you don't have to compromise your back position when you're reaching for it. So if I were going to use this, I would stand like this, reach, and I'm going to grab the kettlebell and stand up, nice and easy. Then I'm going to put it down in the same manner. I'm going to control that movement down and stand up, and that's all. Let's do that a couple more times. I'm going to remove this block to make it a little bit more reasonable for me. Again, if you don't have the mobility, it is totally fine to start like this until your body develops more mobility. We can talk about that in another video. So if you're not using a yoga block, remember you're going to do a slight pack in the shoulders, flex the transverse abs, hinge at the hips, let the knees bend naturally, reach for the bell until you can just barely grab it, keeping good neutral spine in the back. Right? Push into the floor with your feet, exhale and squeeze the butt. Now return it in the same manner. And there you go. That's it. That's all. That is your basics of doing a deadlift. Again, as I said before, I'm not getting into things like bodybuilding technique, competitive weightlifting technique, or powerlifting technique. Those are all different training methods. There's nothing wrong with them, but if you want to train in those kind of methods, please go find somebody who competes competitively in those and hire them and get them to teach you how to do it properly. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found that short tutorial on how to do a proper deadlift helpful. There's so many things that I could talk about around that, but I wanted to keep that one really short and simple just to give you a tool to start learning, if nothing else, even the movement patterns. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share this episode with a friend. Plus, remember to connect with Gym and Kitchen on the web, Instagram and Facebook at gymandkitchen.biz. And I will see you in the next video.